Let's now take a look at ointments. Ointment is a prescribed medicine made for external use. Its consistency is rather like butter and has a base of either pure Vaseline or a mixture of paraffin oil and Vaseline.
In earlier times, chemists would use a fat derived from sheep's wool called lanolin. But if you looked back about 300 years, you'd discover no less than 20 different varieties of fat being utilized.
They used dog fat, hare fat, fat from pikefish, and you had bear fat, snake fat. But the most expensive of them all was human fat. Now here we have a jar containing some human fat. Its proper title is Axungia hominis. You may well ask where one obtained this human fat. Well, it was bought from the public executioner.
The public executioner possessed the sole rights of sale to the chemists of all human parts after execution. He also sold blood and moss from skulls.
Muscus crania hominis. Sometimes when a criminal had been fixed to the wheel, moss could be found growing on the skull, and this too was also for sale. A third human medicament was a mummy. And we happen to have a genuine head of a mummy right here.
A pulverized mummy was a medicament for cramp and rheumatism, which, when used externally, would stop bleeding.
It becomes a reddish-brown powder. Now it's in hard pieces, but it's easy enough to pulverize again. Ointments have differing consistencies. There are those which are like butter, those which have a more paste-like consistency because they contain non-dissolvable material, and creams, which are soft. We'll make a mercuric iodide ointment.
The pulverized mummy and ointment from the executioner were a curiosity in the history of pharmacy. Mercuric iodide ointment consists solely of lanolin, mercuric iodide, and groundnut oil, blended in a mortar. It's a veterinary ointment used, for instance, to treat eczema and wounds on cows.
We can now add the remainder of the oil. And the rest of this. In order to make sure that an ointment is blended sufficiently, even small traces on the side of the mortar and on the pestle must be retrieved at least 3 times. And it won't be long now before it's ready. This ointment won't be needed straight away, so we'll put it into an ointment jar. And take the remainder with our playing card.
Sure.
The lid fits into the jar, so we'll just make sure it's clean.
Sådan. Og så kan vi
Put the lid on
se, at der
so
ikke
it
er
won't get
noget
dusty.
snavs. Nu skal vi lave
Now
en
we'll
creme,
make a cream,
som
which is
er
an
en
emulsion.
Og en emulsion,
Normally,
det er
this is a
normalt
substance which is
en
comprised of
flydende
two
lægemiddelform,
phases,
som består af to faser, en
an
oliefase
oil
og en
phase
vandfase.
and a water
Og den ene
phase,
fase
and the one
findes
phase is finally dispersed within the other.
Men
But
vi
we
skal
must
også
also
sørge
be
for,
sure
at
about
den
the
er
emulsion's
stabil,
stability,
den emulsion.
so we add a
Så
third
derfor
phase,
tilsætter man en tredje fase,
an
med
emulsifier,
emulgatoren, som
which
gør,
ensures
at
that
den
it
ikke
doesn't
skiller
separate.
så hurtigt ad. Nu skal vi så
Anyway,
i gang med
let's now get on with
emulsioncremen
making this
med
cream,
vitaminkrem.
meperamine cream.
Det er et meget lækkert
This is a
lyst
powder which is
pulver.
easily dissolved in water, so naturally we dissolve it in the water phase, because it's insoluble in the oil phase.
Det er uopløseligt i oliefasen.
Mr. Simonson continues the weighing out with methyl paraoxybenzoyl solution, which has a preserving effect.
Sådan. Så kommer vi.
And now some sorbitol.
Around 1960, Danish pharmacies had to put the days of such fine classic jars behind them. As the medicaments are not poured into other vessels, the danger of mistaking one for another is minimalized, as is also confusing a newer portion for an older one.
Sådan. Det var vandfasen.
Well, that was the water phase,
Så er den klar
and
til
now it's ready for
varme.
warming.
For det gælder om, når man blander sådan en vandfase med en oliefase, der er smeltet sammen af forskellige fedtstoffer, at de er lige varme, oliefase og vandfase.
In the oil phase, Mr. Simonson adds cetanol, macrogol stearate,
Det er den der.
and monostearin.
Og så mangler vi bare...
Now we only need some groundnut oil.
Sådan. Så har vi
So here we have the water phase
og olie.
and the oil phase.
Og det
which
vil vi
we'll
så
combine
smelte. Henholdsvis smelte
by
oliefase
melting the oil phase and warming the water phase.
Ja, nu er
Now it's
det
melted,
hele smeltet her. Og så skal vi have
so we
varmet
can warm
vandfase.
the water phase.
Og så skal vi se,
Take a look at the temperature.
hvordan temperaturen er. Ja, nu er
Yes,
temperaturen
60
60 grader
degrees
det her,
centigrade.
og vi kan lige
And just
kontrollere
ascertain the temperature here.
temperaturen her. Den er
A little over 60 degrees, so that's fine.
Det er jo fint. Så skal vi
Now
have
we
dem
can pour the
sammen,
one into the other
de to faser, og så får vi en
and get an emulsion.
emulsion ud af det. Ja, så skal vi bare
And an
røre i det
occasional
en
stir
gang
now and
imellem,
again.
til den bliver
Until it's creamier,
cremeagtig. Og det må vi vente på.
so we'll have to wait.
Ja, nu er den
It almost has the right
næsten den
consistency
konsistens,
now.
som den skal have.
To emulsify the cream, Mr. Simonson will put it through a cream maker.
Vi kommer
Cream goes in
cremen
here.
ned.
Once, housewives in England would use such a machine to make cream from butter and milk.
vil jeg først
I'd like to
vise,
show you how
hvordan man
tubes
fylder
used to be
tuber
filled by
med
hand.
håndkraft. Sådan. Ruller det sammen
Roll it
til
to a
en
cylinder.
pølse. Stopper det
Position
ind
it in the
tuben
tube
og skruer
and
hænden
remove the
af.
cap.
Så presser vi
Then
det
squeeze
ind.
it in
Til vi kan
until we can see the cream.
der. Skruer
And
hænden
screw
på.
the cap back on.
Tager en
Take a
saks
pair of scissors and
og trækker
remove the
papiret
paper.
ud. Og så lukker vi
Close the
tuben.
tube with these pliers.
Ja, men hvis det er
But if there are
mange
many
tuber, man skal
tubes to be
fylde på,
filled,
så er det nemmere
then it's
med
much
sådan et
easier with this
apparat
tube
her.
filling machine here.
Så skal vi lige have fyldt den. Vi sætter den fra
Put a
vi
cork
først,
in
for at den
here,
skal løbe helt ud.
so nothing runs out.
Ja, vi sætter
Put our
stemplet
stemple in
her.
here.
Vi skal have luft.
Remove all the air.
Så nu har
Well,
vi så
that's
luft.
the most of it out.
Så sætter vi
Lid
her
on
på, lukker
and
den
lock it
og låser den og sætter
and affix this
denne her
here.
fast. Så. Sådan.